Jamaica! Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online on March 20 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast from the University of the West Indies for World Water Day. This year's theme, Inclusivity and Equity, highlights the commitment to ensuring that every Jamaican has access to safe, reliable water. Representatives from Jamaica's major water agencies will be present to answer questions, share valuable information, and help you explore the many possibilities within the water industry. So tune in to Cliff Hughes Online for World Water Day celebration, Inclusivity and Equity. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2, or keep your station locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Water, Environment and Climate Change.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Roby Ann Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, doctors at Mapen Hospital say they've made history by saving the life of a patient who was stabbed in the heart.
Police commissioner says criminals are waiting for the slightest chance to unleash mayhem as he urges JCF members to remain vigilant.
Dr. Kevin Blake's rallying cry comes amid a near 30% reduction in murders since the start of the year.
The government overpaid salaries for some public sector workers by over $200 million in the 2024-25 fiscal year.
RADA steps in to help farmers reeling from low prices amid glut of onion in the local market.
In news from the rest of the world, Cuba reports all-island blackout on Monday as energy and economic crises worsen.
Germany and the UK say they will not help to unblock crucial maritime waterway amid Iranian bombardment.
In sports, Western-based high schools receive millions in hurricane donations from leading sports goods manufacturers.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, opposition leader Mark Golding is set to make his contribution to the budget debate on Tuesday. What are the experts listening for? We'll hear from Managing Director at Strategic Alignment Limited, Robert Winter, President of the MSME Alliance, Antoinette Hamilton, and public commentator Jermaine Barrett.
In the nation's business at 6:25, following the decision by the Holness administration to end the Cuban medical program, the opposition has come out in support of the Cuban government. We'll get a historical perspective from historian Wayne Chen and political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang.
And at 7, it's the comments section with Shalois Michael and Mahiri Stewart. This evening, they're asking, should the government continue its drawdown from the National Housing Trust? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio. And message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, RevoNews.ai, and on the Revo News app. It's available on Google Play and the App Store this Monday afternoon. It's Monday, March 16, 2026.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The Mapen Hospital in Clarendon says it has accomplished the historic feat of saving the life of a patient who was stabbed in the heart. In a statement on Monday, the hospital says the patient arrived at the facility with a stab wound to the heart. It says a medical team attended to the wound minutes after the patient arrived. The hospital says it was able to conduct several medical procedures, leading to the patient's survival. Following open heart surgery, the patient recovered steadily. After continued monitoring and treatment, the patient was discharged and later returned for follow-up evaluations, which confirmed a full recovery. The case marks a groundbreaking milestone in the hospital's growing capacity to manage complex trauma cases. Nationwide News spoke to 3 medical doctors who agree that the feat recorded at Mapen Hospital is indeed worthy of the highest commendation. Acting consultant in the A&E department, Dr. Natoya Hall Okori, says the case reflects Mapen Hospital's commitment to continuous professional development, training, and establishing protocols for severe trauma cases.
Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake is cautioning members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, against complacency as the country continues to see a decline in murders. He gave the warning in the latest edition of Commissioner's Corner, published on Monday. Abigail Bartley reports.
There were 113 homicides recorded across the island between January 1 and March 14 this year. That's a 29% drop when compared to the 160 murders recorded in the corresponding period in 2025. Dr. Blake says the JCF's progress could quickly be reversed if its operational focus weakens. He's urging all police personnel to show continued discipline and leadership in order to sustain recent gains in crime reduction and prevent further loss of life. The commissioner attributed the reduction to deliberate policing, aided by coordinated and disciplined execution. He notes that sustaining the gains will require strong leadership and consistent supervision at every level of the JCF. He's warning that criminal networks remain watchful and stand ready to exploit any lapse in policing discipline. To prevent this, Dr. Blake says the police must maintain a strong police presence, respond promptly to calls for service, follow up on intelligence consistently, and conduct thorough vehicle checks. Abigail Bartley for Nationwide News.
Several government ministries have been flagged for various audit issues which could have the effect of placing hundreds of millions of dollars at risk. That's according to a report tabled in the House of Representatives by the government of Jamaica's Audit Committee for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. The report identified major internal breaches across ministries, departments, and agencies over the period. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The Government of Jamaica Audit Committees are independent bodies established within ministries, departments, and agencies to oversee financial management, internal controls, and risk management. The groups have collectively flagged several government bodies for major internal control breaches, discrepancies, and non-compliance to guidelines. The report tabled last Thursday says this, for instance, has resulted in the overpayment of salaries totaling more than $200 million. Project overruns and variations of nearly $140 million, alongside systematic weaknesses in controls, were also cited. For example, audits of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation showed an inability to verify final project expenditure totaling just over $99 million. Over $50 million was similarly spent on incomplete projects. Inadequate project management and contract management issues resulted in prolonged project delays, project overruns, variations, and unexpended project funds in excess of $136 million. Nearly $70 million in payments were also processed without verification. In the Ministry of Education, an internal audit identified $185 million in salary overpayments due to restructured salaries. Additionally, $23 million in unaccounted funds and $21 million in unsupported payments were identified. The report says systematic weaknesses in the internal control systems, particularly relating to cash management and asset management, procurement guidelines, and supervisory checks and balances, need to be urgently addressed at the Education Ministry. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, 12 ministries, departments, and agencies were flagged for outstanding financial statements, with some in delinquency for over a decade. The Accountant General's Department has not submitted a financial statement in 11 years. The National Land Agency has not submitted a statement for 10 years. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is 9 years delinquent, while the Office of the Registrar General is 7 years in deficit. The Forestry Department has not submitted a financial statement for 5 years. According to the report, the auditing committees attached to these MDAs have reaffirmed their commitment to bringing all accounts up to date.
The Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, says it's taking steps to manage the supply of onions on the local market following a surge in production across the island. This amid complaints from farmers about the low prices being offered due to the glut on the market. Lisa Andrade Thompson tells us more.
In a statement on Monday, RADA says it's working through the Ministry of Agriculture to stabilize the market. It says it's employing various measures to address the issues including direct market facilitation, technical support for farmers, and partnerships for storage. RADA reported strong onion yields, particularly in St. Elizabeth and St. Thomas, where large volumes are now entering the market. The agency says the increase in production reflects the success of local farmers in helping to meet national demand. According to RADA, the output is linked to its Production Incentive Program, PIP, which was designed to close the gap between Jamaica's annual onion demand and domestic supply. Under the program, the authority targeted the planting of 400 hectares of onions during the current financial year, with a minimum production goal of 7,000 tons. Some 500 farmers were also identified to receive intensive support under the initiative. RADA says farmers also received direct support to reduce production costs and improve yields. Meanwhile, RADA says it has been working closely with local purchasers to ensure the increased supply translates into revenue for farmers. Over 700,000 kilograms of onions, equivalent to nearly 6,000 bags, have already been purchased, generating an estimated $190 million in earnings. To prevent a glut, during the peak harvest period, the authority has also partnered with the Agro-Invest Corporation to store surplus supply at the Essex Valley Storage Facility in St. Elizabeth. Lisa Andrade Thompson for Nationwide News.
The Jamaican Urban Transit Company Limited, JUTC, is denouncing a social media video claiming that passengers traveling on the Halfway Tree to Ocho Rios route are required to pay for a number in order to secure a seat on the bus. The company's response comes after a TikTok video posted by user Wayne Mighty showing a man urging passengers to collect a number before boarding. It also shows another man holding a container into which he deposits what appears to be tickets and cash. But in a statement on Monday, JUTC says the men are not employees or authorized agents of the company. It also says no passenger is required to pay for a number or any unofficial fee to board a JUTC bus. Corporate Communications Manager at JUTC, Chantal Thompson, spoke with our news center.
At JUTC, we do not have a numbering system and we do not have a ticketing system. Regarding all of our routes, especially the rural express routes, it is first come, first serve. You pay as you go. As it pertains to our fares are standard. If we are to change them, you could always check our Instagram page, which is JUTC LTD. You could check our website, which is jutc.gov.jm. And just in case you're unsure and you want to call somebody, it is 876-570-1789. We also want to urge our commuters to just be a little bit more vigilant. If someone at the bus is not in a banded JUTC, then do not take what they're saying to be fact.
JUTC says it has reported the matter to the police. Thompson says while the company is taking steps to introduce a booking system, it's not yet in place.
Never in history we've had a ticketing system or even a recent or a booking system. However, we have been getting a lot of queries regarding when Montego Bay, Niville and Ocho Rios route. When can we book our seats? And I just want to alert our commuters that we are working on it. It is coming soon. But at present, there's no numbering, there's no booking system and there's no ticketing system. First comes, first serve.
Chantal Thompson, Corporate Communications Manager at JUTC.
The government has received 200 prefabricated housing units from the government of the People's Republic of China as part of Hurricane Melissa relief efforts. The houses arrived last Friday. They were received by Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith and the Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, Commander Alvin Gale. Senator Johnson-Smith expressed appreciation to China's ambassador to Jamaica, His Excellency Wang Jingfeng, for the country's continued support of Hurricane Melissa relief efforts. The 200 houses represents the third tranche of humanitarian assistance provided by the Chinese government since the passage of the Category 5 hurricane. You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
5:14.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rentokil Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is...
It's 29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 in Montego Bay. Continuing the news, legal officer at the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, Travis Ebanks, is calling for structural changes that will facilitate easier access to government information for citizens living with disabilities.
I think one of the main one is a lack of sign language interpreters. Also, the limited use of Jamaican Sign Language. We also have material challenges as relates to the utilization of information by person with disability. And so oftentimes you would have someone trying to access information, but they're not in a manner which can be utilized. So for example, limited usage of Braille, large print, audio formats, and also closed caption, making sign language interpretation for public broadcast and government broadcast mandatory. And I think once we have that, it will start to pave the way for the private sector to follow.
Travis Ebanks, legal officer at the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities. Sign language interpreter Antoinette Aiken agrees. Aiken says the elevation of sign language to official status in Jamaica is the game-changing move that must happen now.
The biggest thing that the deaf community needs right now is for Jamaican Sign Language to become an official language. I think once that happens, a lot of things will structurally change. You'll find that they will have to start teaching children in school, which will make even a basic conversation simple without an interpreter. For example, a deaf person going to the pharmacist and asking for a Panadol. They need access to leisure. Our movie theaters are not accessible. Our entertainment spaces are not accessible.
Antoinette Aiken, sign language interpreter. Both were guests on the Jamaicans for Justice produced program Let's Talk Justice, aired earlier on Monday on Nationwide 90 FM.
The mayor of Kingston, Andrew Swaby, says the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC, will have to re-examine the current fee structure for vending at Constant Spring Arcade. According to Mayor Swaby, operations at the arcade cost the KSAMC over $30 million per year. He was speaking at a consultation meeting with vendors last Friday.
If we should lock down this operation, KSAMC would have saved $31 million. Because we have to take money from somewhere else to keep this facility open. Can I make that $31 million in 1 year? No. I can't close that cap in 1 year. The reality. But the present fee structure can stand up. So I'm saying to the team that we have to have a discussion where we can sit down, examine a thing. If you see we are do something that we should do and you consider it a waste, tell me, make we look, examine it and cut that waste out.
Mayor Swaby also chided some vendors for failing to secure their own electricity meters.
We also can pay your light bill. May I tell you the truth? We can't do it. We can't continue. So we have options, you know. The options, one of the options that we have, which I've said to you 2 years ago, persons take out your own meter. I don't know if one person take it out yet. Some persons would start a little thing by wiring to trick me and don't go no further. Some persons that keep round robbing in your power light. Some persons are thief JPS light. What we can do we could look at the option of just provide lights for the walking areas. Take our building off of the light and then make JPS cut it off and then force you to do what you have to do.
Andrew Swaby, Mayor of Kingston.
The Integrity Commission's Director of Corruption Prosecution, Craig Beresford, has ruled that a former investigator at the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission, Delphine Gordon, be charged for failing to file her statutory declarations. The investigative report and indicative ruling were tabled in the House of Representatives last Thursday. According to the report, Gordon failed to file her statutory declarations for the year 2023. The Commission's Director of Investigations, Kevon Stevenson, concluded that Gordon failed to submit the requisite statutory declaration to the Commission by the due date. He also found that she provided no reasonable cause for her failure to do so. As a result, he recommended that she be charged.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Officials in Cuba reported an island-wide blackout on Monday as the country's energy and economic crisis deepened. In a post on X, Cuba's Ministry of Energy and Mines noted a complete disconnection of the country's electrical system. Last Friday, Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel said the island had not received oil shipments in more than 3 months. Cuba has been operating on solar power, natural gas, and thermoelectric plants. Hospitals have had to postpone surgeries for tens of thousands of people. While Cuba produces 40% of its petroleum and has been generating its own power, it hasn't been sufficient to meet overwhelming demand.
The Guardian is reporting that the International Energy Agency, IEA, will consider releasing further emergency crude stocks into the global market to cool rising oil prices. This after the world's energy watchdog warned it will take time for markets to recover from the ongoing crisis in the Strait of Hormuz. The IEA says its members continue to hold large reserves of emergency oil stocks even after agreeing to the biggest release of government crude in the history of the market. It came as the price of Brent crude rose almost 3% within minutes of the market opening on Monday to about $106.50 per barrel. It later dipped but was still trading at just above $100 per barrel. About 100 million barrels of emergency oil stockpiles will be made available to buyers in Asia this week in the first release from a planned 400 million barrel deluge of crude into the global market to make up for the lost exports from Gulf nations.
European countries have ruled out sending warships to the Strait of Hormuz despite threats from Donald Trump that NATO faces a very bad future if members fail to help reopen the vital waterway. Germany ruled out participation in any military activity, including efforts to reopen the strait. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz says, given that there was never a joint decision on whether to intervene, the question about his country's military contribution does not arise. Speaking bluntly, the Chancellor says Germany will not intervene. Britain's Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, says his country will not be drawn into a wider war, but was working on a viable plan.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, doctors at Mapen Hospital say they've made history by saving the life of a patient who was stabbed in the heart. The hospital says the patient has made a full recovery.
Police commissioner says criminals are waiting for the slightest chance to unleash mayhem as he urges JCF members to remain vigilant.
Dr. Kevin Blake's rallying cry comes amid a near 30% reduction in murders since the start of the year.
The government overpaid salaries for some public sector workers by over $200 million in the 2024-25 fiscal year.
I'm Robeanne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at revonews.ai and on the Revo News app. It's available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? Geoland Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. Geoland Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
Whether you're buying your very first home, purchasing a more spacious home, or securing an investment property, a GMMB Bank mortgage gives you the confidence to take the next step. Enjoy low interest rates, competitive processing fees, a 1-month payment holiday available upon request, and exclusive merchant partner discounts to help you get move-in ready. Your dream deserves the right support. GMMB Bank Mortgage, you can do this. We can help. Speak with a mortgage specialist today at 876-998-GMMB or visit gmmb.com. Conditions apply.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Now, the local-based members of Jamaica's contingent to the World Indoor Championships in Poland, leaving the island tomorrow morning. That's on Tuesday at 9 o'clock. The group will have 29 members, including athletes, coaches, and managers. The manager of the team, Brian Smith, he left the island on Monday afternoon ahead of the group to get things in place. Kishane Thompson, Brian Lavelle, Akeem Blake, Janelle Smith, and Tia Clayton are among some of the athletes leaving on Tuesday, and they'll be joined by 8 others upon arrival in Europe. And of course, the journey will take the Jamaican contingent through Atlanta in the USA, and then they'll go to Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and then they'll be on their way to Poland. Jamaica will be looking to improve on their 2 silver and 2 bronze medals, total of 4 from the last World Indoor Championships in Nanjing, China in 2025, and it put them 17th on the medal table. 9 high schools and 1 college were presented with cash contributions worth $7.5 million, courtesy of global sports goods manufacturers Adidas under the Hurricane Melissa Contribution Fund. The checks were presented during the 25th staging of the GC Foster Classic at the campus of the college in Angel St. Catherine. When international athletes manager, agent QBC Gobin approached Adidas to assist the track and field programs of the schools who suffered damage during the Cat 5 hurricane from last October, Spencer Nell, Director of Global Sports Marketing at Adidas, and CEO Bjorn Gulden immediately jumped into action. And on Saturday, Homewood Technical, Black River High, and Monroe were all presented with checks of $1 million each. GC Foster College, home of Sprintech Track Club, also received $1 million. Lacovia, Alphonsus Davis, Herbert Morrison, Rossies, Petersfield, Manchester High, and the Jamaica Olympians Association all collected $500,000 each. Mark Smith is principal of Monroe College, and he was happy for the donation.
I'm incredibly appreciative to the Adidas family for stepping in and supporting the schools that were hardest hit because it has really been a challenging recovery effort, and it's really awesome that one of our big corporate sponsors will be able to come in and support in this matter.
Seville and Watson are both signed to Adidas, and they lauded the company for answering the call.
I am a student from the West,
And this is actually something great for us Adidas to give back to the school in the West. So it's a good feeling. Great feeling to be able to help and give back to the schools that were affected. So coming out here today and with the presentations was a great feeling.
And the sports minister also weighed in.
Adidas are stepping up and contributing to the schools that have been impacted by Hurricane Melissa. I wish all the sponsors would do that. They've set a good example. They've always been very supportive of our high schools. And I just want to say to
Sigobin, who started it all, says Adidas will always help the Jamaican young athletes whenever they're called upon.
It was the brainchild of the director of running Adidas, Mr. Spencer Nell. And when he went to the CEO of Adidas, it was without a doubt, there was no hesitation in doing the money. We were hell-bent on going into the schools that got damages. We weren't really interested in food and water and everything because a lot of the schools that we support and that we donated money to, the roofs and the dorms and everything were damaged.
Some news now on cricket. President of Cricket West Indies, Dr. Kishore Shallow, says he's doing good balancing his role as the region's top cricket administrator and that of Minister of Tourism and Maritime Affairs in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Dr. Shallow added that while politics is often a tedious task, his first love is cricket, and he's pleased to have the opportunity to make the necessary changes that will elevate the game in the region.
Managing well, you know, cricket is my first love. Since I've, started, looking at the world teams in the 80s and then playing cricket, I've been mad in love with cricket. And I normally say before anything else, I'm a massive cricket fan, before administration and everything. And so I continue to enjoy my involvement in cricket. I really, hope that by the time to move on from cricket administration, I would have, really left an impact on, positively growing the game in the region. But cricket is so dear to every single West Indian, and it was a real privilege for me to be involved, from our policy decision.
And he's also rebuffed the notion that cricket's world governing body, the ICC, is currently in discussions to have a two-tier system in the game.
Not true. ICC doesn't have this on the agenda, not currently.
Dr. Shallow was speaking to Andre Baptiste, the man they call the Fearless One, on I-95 FM in Trinidad at the weekend, and talks of a two-tier system have certainly gathered momentum given the sort of disparity in quality between the top countries and those at the lower scale. Former Indian coach and former Indian cricket star Ravi Shastri is one of those who is supportive of the two-tier system.
That's why I keep, saying time and time again, make Test cricket into two structures of, A and B. 6 teams. You want the best playing against each other. Mm-hmm. That's when you'll get crowds. When there's a mismatch, no one's going to come, and it's pointless. How is it a test? Why is it called Test cricket? Because it tests you. But when there's no, very soon people will say that's not Test cricket.
That's Ravi Shastri, the former Indian coach and also former Indian star player. And finally in sports at this time, Racing United will be looking to go back second in the Ray Nephew Jamaica Premier League. They face Arnett Gardens on Monday night. That's tonight at 7:30 at the Tony Spalding Sports Complex. The St. Catherine-based Racers, they lost second place on Sunday without kicking a ball. And that's because Mount Pleasant Academy defeated Malines United by 2-0 at Draxall in one of the games. A win in the jungle tonight for Racing will put them 2 points clear of Mount Pleasant and back into second place. Arnett Gardens, they've blown hot and cold all season at home, and a massive push for a top 6 place is the battle cry down in the jungle, which means winning is a requirement for tonight against the Racing team. Chapelton Maroons, Portmore Cavalier and Mobay were some of the other winners on Sunday. That's it for sports. We're going to be back at 6:05 with your main sportscast. Alex Wibby will be your presenter.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:32.
Gee, you know say Mikey no come. Hold on.
No, sir. That sound like consumption. What that? Tuberculosis, aka TB.
Now all time something that. After nobody not get that again.
So you think TB still about?
If you have a cough for more than 2 weeks with fever, night sweats, and weight loss, go to your doctor or health center and get tested now. Let's be vigilant and stop the spread of TB infections. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Over a month ago, we invited you to be a part of something special, something different. And you know what? Over 500 of you said, all right, we're in. That means over 500 of you decided to move from just being a listener to being a part of the family. The Nationwide Family Club isn't just an idea anymore. It's real, it's growing, and it feels good.
And because family looks out for family, for the entire month of March, we're doing something extra. Every single week, one family club member will win a $25,000 supermarket voucher. That's 4 winners, 4 weeks, 4 real chances. Because when you stick with us, we believe you should feel it. Loyalty shouldn't just be appreciated, it should feel rewarded.
The Nationwide Family Club is where you, our listeners, come closer. Not just hearing the stories, but seeing how they're made. Not just listening to the voices, but connecting with the people behind them. In the Family Club, you get early access to documentaries, exclusive content on air, member-only conversations, birthday shout-outs, breaking news alerts, and depending on your tier, studio experiences and private live streams. That's not just regular radio. That's family access.
This isn't just a subscription. It's connection. It's community. It's saying, I support what you do, and I want to be closer to it. More content, more interactions, more behind the scenes, and no, more chances to win.
And if you've been watching from the sidelines, we've been saving a seat for you. Join today. Be a part of the first 1,000 family members. And this March, you could be one of 4 people walking away with a $25,000 supermarket voucher. Go to patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. The Nationwide Family Club. Closer than radio, stronger than ever, and growing with you, our family.
Remember the first time, the first glance, the first touch. This Easter weekend, rediscover that feeling at Couples Resorts. Escape to a couples-only all-inclusive paradise with gourmet dine-in, premium cocktails, and unforgettable ocean views, all included. Jamaican residents can celebrate your Easter escape with exclusive rates from $405 USD per night, valid through April 30th. Visit couples.com/residents. Couples Resorts, like the first time, every time.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
You could win a return on your taxes. Pay your taxes with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card at Tax Administration Jamaica or online for your chance to be one of 2 lucky winners of $500,000 cashback. Earn an entry for every $100,000 spent on taxes between February 27 and April 15. Plus, enjoy a 1-month payment holiday up to 55 days interest-free and unlimited reward points. Visit Sagicor.com to learn more. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Multilink, access every time, everywhere I go. Multilink, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we
we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my multi-link?
Good afternoon. Thank you so very much for sticking and staying with us right here inside Must Listen Radio. It's nationwide at 5. Of course, I'm Tyrone Reed. If you're listening to us on the 90 FM band, top of the afternoon to you. And of course, if you're over there on our YouTube channel, thank you so very much for making it nationwide at 5. In the cover story today, the 2026-2027 budget debate is set to continue this week with the opposition leader Mark Golding making his presentation on Tuesday. That's tomorrow. This follows the opening presentation by the country's finance minister, Favour Williams, last Tuesday. She was followed by her opposition number, that's the opposition spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson, on Thursday. The government has tabled a $1.4 trillion budget, if you'd recall, which will be partially funded by a $29.5 billion tax package. The bulk of those taxes are expected to come from the new levy on sugary drinks, from which the government expects to yield just over $10 billion. The tax package marks the first time in 10 years that the Holness administration has imposed new taxes on the Jamaican people. During her presentation, Minister Williams announced that the government will be implementing major reforms to the financial sector as part of measures to boost the availability of capital for reconstruction and growth. For his part, Mr. Robinson was highly critical of the government's tax package. He also provided an alternative method to fund the current budgetary needs outside of raising new taxes. This method, Mr. Robinson said, would tap into additional tax compliance measures and attract remote foreign workers. Under the proposed PNP arrangement, the government would also require additional borrowing of 15 billion Jamaican dollars. The opposition leader is expected to follow up on the PNP's proposals on Tuesday. Now, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness will make his presentation on Thursday, while the Finance Minister will close the budget debate on Tuesday, March 24. What are the experts expecting from the opposition leader's contribution to the national budget debate? For that discussion, we're being joined by the Managing Director of Strategic Alignment Limited, Robert Winter, political commentator and founder and Executive Director of the Jamaican Association for Debating and Empowerment, JADE, Jermaine Barrett, as well as President of the Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises MSME Alliance, Antoinette Hamilton. Top of the afternoon to you, lady and gentlemen. Welcome to Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon. Afternoon.
Indeed. Great having you all here. Let's dive right into it. Let's begin with the rose among the thorns, as they say. Antoinette Hamilton, what are you expecting from the opposition leader come tomorrow?
Well, I'm expecting that he will expound on the alternative that the opposition spokesperson on finance presented as it relates to the growth strategies for increasing the tax revenue. Because if there is a plausible alternative, we would really love for the government to explore it. And so it is important that he expound and explain some of the questions that person would have posed subsequently, so that we can better understand the rationale behind these initiatives and how is it that they can be a viable substitute for the tax measures that the government is proposing. So I think that is something that I'm looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to just a deeper dive into some of the other social ills of the country. In terms of the level of accountability in public governance, how is it that he proposes the government treat with that in light of the several Auditor General's reports and their findings, and also in terms of export and renewable energy, what is his direction for that, especially given what is happening in
other areas of the world.
What about you, Robert Winter? What should be the approach of the opposition leader in his contribution to the budget debate?
Okay, thank you. I think the opposition leader is at the greatest disadvantage to anybody else, because while the finance minister goes first and the opposition spokesman responds, the opposition leader has to go before the prime minister, so he doesn't get a chance to rebut the prime minister. However, I think it should be a statesman-like presentation instead of a very divisive presentation. So therefore, first and foremost, I think the opposition leader should give credit where credit is due, and acknowledge the reduction in murders as one of the major achievements we have had for some time. Secondly, I don't think he should go into the details, but look at a broader perspective of what his opposition spokesman said. How do we address the fundamental growth challenges we have had for a long time? 2, how do we really go about transforming the public sector to get to extract value? Because we spend some $300 billion or more than that. We spend quite a bit of the $1.4 trillion goes into public sector salaries. And how do we extract value, particularly for those increases that were given to the politicians and the senior public officers? And how does he defend his position on NHT? I mean, this has been happening from as far back as 2013, I should say, when his own former finance minister says the $44 billion we're taking from NHT will not affect NHT's ability to deliver. Now, the same amount being taken, but NHT is bringing in probably twice as much as it was bringing 10, 12 years ago. Then I think, and I like what Anthony said, but there are some other broader things we need to look at. One, fixing education, that has been a huge problem for a long, long time. Addressing corruption, and generally about national unity, because we have seen a deterioration over the last 5-10 years where greater divide has happened. And I'd like him to speak on those things.
Well, all right. Thank you so much for your opening remarks, Robert Winter. We want to bring you in, Dr. Jermaine Barrett, and I'm sure that's a running joke. Dr. Barrett will appreciate the reference. But we're up on the break, Jermaine Barrett. But when I come back, I'd love to hear from you about what you want to hear from the opposition leader and the tone and the tenor of his presentation, what it ought to be to score maximum political points. This is the cover story. We'll take the break and come back with more after these.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, fast and secure, you can use anywhere, spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multilink?
The Jamaica Customs Agency is ready and set to go to Montego Bay, St. James. This Friday, March 24, Customs meets the community. The Town of the Community Tour edition. Join us at our first stop, Witter Village at 9:30 a.m. Then on Barnett Street at Consumers Meets Plus. Catch us at Fairview Town Center beside Progressive Foods. And afterwards, the grand finale is at 3 p.m. in Sam Shop Square. Come, get lots of information celebration and enjoy the entertainment and leave with prizes and giveaways. That's Customs Meets the Community this Friday, March 20 in St. James as Montego Bay comes back alive.
The Leadership Conference of Choice is back. Transform super managers into superior leaders at the Make Your Mark Middle Managers Leadership Conference, Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online, May 6 to 7. Sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Visual Tech Solutions, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, CIBC Caribbean Bank, and Visual Vibe. Register now for Middle Managers Conference, May 6 to 7 at makeyourmarkgroup.com.
Welcome back. Thank you so very much for staying with us right inside the cover story on Nationwide at 5. We're discussing the budget debates and, of course, the opposition leader. He goes to the wicket tomorrow, and we're getting the views of those who know about these things, yeah? The experts, as we call them, to see what tone, what tenor should the opposition leader take. We've heard from Robert Winter. He's the managing director Strategic Alignment Limited, and we also had online, and I gather our team is trying to make contact with him, and we wanted to go to Jermaine Barrett, who is a political commentator, and he's the founder and executive director of the Jamaican Association for Debating and Empowerment, that's JADE. We heard from the president of the Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises Alliance, that's Antoinette Hamilton. Do we have Jermaine Barrett back with us? All right, so Antoinette Hamilton is with us, and Robert Winter, and we really wanted to go to Jermaine Barrett to get his views. Dana, do you have that clip lined up for me? All right, so we don't have the clip lined up as yet. So let me bring Antoinette Hamilton back in until Jermaine Barrett rejoins us. Antoinette Hamilton, I think it was Robert Winter who made an observation that I think should detain us. He says the opposition leader really, out of all the contributors to the budget debate, he starts perhaps behind the 8 ball, because the finance minister opens, which is understandable. Then her opposite number gets to respond to what she has put on the table, or he has put on the table. But then the opposition leader goes to the wicket before the prime minister. Should we consider amending the schedule, Antoinette Hamilton?
Well, not necessarily, no, because as the opposition leader, you are the government in waiting. And so it still gives you an opportunity to position yourself as the prime minister, if you want to put it that way, and to say what is it that you would like for the country. So yes, it's a budget debate, and usually the prime minister would go first, and then the person would rebut, and then maybe if the prime minister has an opportunity to respond, fine. But I think it's also an opportunity for the Honourable Mr. Golden to position himself as the Prime Minister in waiting, and to say what exactly he would like to see for the country, the vision for the country, and how is it that we will get there. I think it's an opportunity for him to position himself like that.
The former favors the government, and understandably so. The people have elected them. They must enjoy some benefit when it comes to this, which is perhaps why it is structured in that way. Jermaine Barrett, I gather you're back with us, Jermaine Barrett?
Yes, I am back.
Jermaine Barrett, I'd love to hear you on that. The format favors the government. Is there a need to tweak it so the opposition leader can respond to what the Prime Minister puts on the table? And what tone and tenor should the opposition leader seek to strike tomorrow?
Yes, I actually agree with that suggestion. It's a view that I've held for quite a while now, that it shouldn't be that you have the governing side, the Prime Minister and the opposition and the Finance Minister going back to back to conclude the budget debate, because it doesn't give a kind of response that is helpful for the democracy and for the electorate to really form a solid opinion, right? We need that, and you see, it gives an advantage to the governing team. So yes, I would certainly recommend that we go, the finance minister first, then you have the minister on the shadow minister, then you have maybe the prime minister and so forth. Alternated is what I'm saying. In terms of the tone, listen, let's be real. This is the opposition, and the opposition cannot afford to be overly charitable to the government and to the administration. So yes, they will give and they will need to give some credit where credit is absolutely due, but within the context of this budget debate where you have Melissa still looming large, how have we responded, how will we respond, there is a lot to unpack there. I think, for example, in the question of energy, within not just because of Melissa, but more broadly speaking, within global geopolitical issues, that there is going to be some pointing fingers at the administration to say, listen, we told you in the last budget that you need to do more to kind of wean Jamaica of its over-dependence on foreign oil, and here it is that you are now faced with it as a major sort of a punishment and a pain point for the budget right now. And so there's going to be the kind of a positing of the opposition as being, well, we had forethought, we had foreknowledge, and we have been speaking for some time now on the issue of energy. I think on the issue of how we have treated with Melissa and the recovery and the aftermath, I think there's a lot again for him to communicate to the people about, because I mean people particularly in Western Jamaica, and I would say all of Jamaica, are still feeling pain. So what he is likely to do and what he has demonstrated a capacity to do fairly effectively at times is to peel off the scab and poke the wound a little bit to cause people to realize how much they are hurting.
So you are
a lot of that as well.
So this argument that he needs to be statesman-like, you're saying not so much.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I think it can be statesman-like and sort of poke at the administration. You know, to be statesman-like is not to say that you are, you're not, sort of critical of the administration, and it is the role of the opposition to be critical.
I want to play for you, and I'm not certain if all of you who are watching on the panel are able to see what we're about to play on YouTube. But I want to play a short clip, and it goes to the point of the opposition leader needing to be statesman-like. A number of people are saying that. Some people believe he struggles in that regard, and so there's a clip that has been making the rounds. I think this happened during the finance minister's contribution to the budget debate, the opening of the budget. Let's have a look at this video, and then I'll come back with a question for the panel.
Reserves. We have worked, Madam Speaker, to ensure the net international reserves remain strong.
All right, so we stop it there, and if you can bring it back up to the start there. So what is happening in the video here is that the opposition leader is seen in Parliament while the finance minister is making her contribution. I'm not certain if he's chewing on something, but he sticks his hand into his mouth. Perhaps it seems as if he's reaching to the back of his teeth to pull something out. And there are people who are saying, look, he's not very statesman-like is the argument. The caption on this video that has been making the rounds on TikTok, I think my producer found it on, is big budget debate. Where PNP find this man? Doesn't he know Parliament is recorded? Or is it normal for him to do these, what they consider to be, I won't call that word, but they're saying it's not, something, it's coarse behavior, basically, is what they're saying, in front of people. And this just took me to the point, Robert Winter, of wanting to address that point about him needing to be statesman-like. He seems to struggle in that area, or is this an overkill? This just being an example of that.
Like, you could be a wonderful orator. You could have the best manners and still be more divisive than being statesman-like. Statesman-like means you step above the fray and you look at things objectively and you look at points rather than attacking persons. And you give credit where credit is due, and you criticize areas that needs criticizing. But I don't.
So there's
think,
no need to neuter himself. He doesn't need to.
No, he doesn't, and I think that's a bad example of that. I mean, yes, you should comport yourself well in the House of Parliament, and anybody should do that. But is tomorrow going to be a state of the nation, or is it going to be more like the debate just before the elections? It's two different things, because right now it's 4 years away from elections. He should be bringing the interests of the people, and I can tell you something, that the reduction in murders is in the interest of the people, but poor growth over the last 10 years, poor education outcomes are not in the interest.
But that poor growth would extend beyond the last 10 years, though.
I know.
So, which is perhaps why it's a weak argument for any of the major political parties to make. Because none of them have solved the problem when they were at the wicket. I have to squeeze.
Not the point. You're going back into the debate. The thing is, this government has been in 15 of the last 19 years. And I think the excuse about how poor the PNP was is getting stale. The question is now, what is the solution to address it?
Absolutely, and the JP at the weekend, they need to...
solution to address it. I think he needs to come. I see that...
We're almost out of time, Mr. Winter. I have to bring in the other two guests to get their view on this. Pardon me. But let me hear you, Antoinette Hamilton, as quickly as you can. I'm almost out of time. The suggestion that he's not presenting as prime ministerial, you have episodes of this nature. Should he attempt to repair that view of him in the public domain?
I think he would have already done that on the national debate for the general election. I think during that debate, he demonstrated that he was very articulate, very intellectual, very calm and sound. I think...
So that clip is much ado about nothing.
It's much to do about nothing, to be honest, because at the end of the day, we want persons who can find solutions. And I believe that this opposition is putting forward some credible solutions, whether or not we go ahead with them or not. And that is what the people want at this time.
I have 30 seconds for Dr. Jermaine Barrett.
Yes, Professor. I do think that it is much ado about nothing. It does, though, point to the fact that our opposition leader needs to be a lot more scrupulous in terms of his conduct. I recall, for example, at the Prime Minister's inauguration, he didn't stand when it is that everyone else did, as protocol would demand. And here it is that we see another... But
how can he be much ado about nothing if we're saying he needs to be more scrupulous when it comes to these things? Because people see them as a strike against him.
Yeah, but I don't think that it is that significant in the broader scale of things. I think there are bigger issues to converse about. I think there are bigger issues that confront the country as opposed to whether or not the opposition leader is poking his finger in the back of his mouth. I mean,
Absolutely.
Well, all right, thank you. Thanks to all of you. We are out of time, but I want to thank Antoinette Hamilton, Jermaine Barrett, and Robert Winter for joining us inside the Cover Story. I appreciate the time and the thoughts. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
You're welcome.
This has been the Cover Story. The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink.
safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening. With the headlines at 6, I'm Norige Banton. The Maypen Hospital in Clarendon says it has accomplished the historic feat of saving the life of a patient who was stabbed in the heart. In a statement on Monday, the hospital says the patient arrived at the facility with a stab wound to the heart. It says a medical team attended to the wound minutes after the patient arrived. The hospital says it was able to conduct several medical procedures leading to the patient's survival. Following open heart surgery, the patient recovered steadily. After continued monitoring and treatment, the patient was discharged and later returned for follow-up evaluations, which confirmed a full recovery. The case marks a groundbreaking milestone in the hospital's growing capacity to manage complex trauma cases. Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake is cautioning members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, against complacency as the country continues to see a decline in murders. He gave the warning in the latest edition of Commissioner's Corner, published on Monday. There were 113 homicides recorded across the island between January 1 and March 14 this year. That's a 29% drop when compared to the 160 murders recorded in the corresponding period in 2025. Dr. Blake says the JCF's progress could quickly be reversed if its operational focus weakens. He's urging all police personnel to show continued discipline and leadership in order to sustain recent gains in crime reduction and prevent further loss of life. The commissioner attributed the reduction to deliberate policing aided by coordinated and disciplined execution. Several government ministries have been flagged for various audit issues which could have the effect of placing hundreds of millions of dollars at risk. That's according to a report tabled in the House of Representatives by the Government of Jamaica's Audit Committee for the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year. The report identified major internal breaches across ministries, departments, and agencies over the period. The Government of Jamaica Audit Committees are independent bodies established within ministries, departments, and agencies to oversee financial management, internal controls, and risk management. The groups have collectively flagged several government bodies for major internal control breaches, discrepancies, and non-compliance to guidelines. The report tabled last Thursday says this, for instance, has resulted in the overpayment of salaries totaling more than $200 million. Project overruns and variations of nearly $140 million alongside systematic weaknesses in controls were also cited. For example, audits of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation showed an inability to verify final project expenditure totaling just over $99 million. And the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, says it's taking steps to manage the supply of onions on the local market following a surge in production across the island. This amid complaints from farmers about the low prices being offered due to the glut on the market. In a statement on Monday, RADA says it's working through the Ministry of Agriculture to stabilize the market. It says it's employing various measures to address the issue, including direct market facilitation, technical support for farmers, and partnerships for storage. RADA reported strong onion yields, particularly in St. Elizabeth and St. Thomas, where large volumes are now entering the market. The agency says the increase in production reflects the success of local farmers in helping to meet national demand. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay. Banton Sports is next.
Commercial space is for you.
parks and attractions for you, housing and residential developments for you, beautiful rental properties for you, improving quality of life through infrastructure development across Jamaica for you. The Urban Development Corporation, making development happen for you. Brought to you by the Urban Development Corporation.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-371-425 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Remember the first time, the first glance, the first touch. This Easter weekend, rediscover that feeling at Couples Resorts. Escape to a couples-only all-inclusive paradise with gourmet dine-in, premium cocktails, and unforgettable ocean views, all included. Jamaican residents can celebrate your Easter escape with exclusive rates from $405 USD per night, valid through April 30th. Visit couples.com/residents. Couples Resorts, like the first time, every time.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We start with some track and field as 9 high schools and 1 college were presented with cash contributions worth $7.5 million courtesy of global sports goods giants Adidas under their Hurricane Melissa Contribution Fund. The checks were presented during the 25th staging of the GC Foster Classics at the campus in Angels on Saturday. Wayne Walker reports.
Who suffered damage during the Cat 5 hurricane from last October. Spencer Nell, Director of Global Sports Marketing at Adidas, and CEO Bjorn Gulden immediately jumped into action. And on Saturday, Homewood Technical, Black River High, and Monroe were all presented with checks of $1 million each. GC Foster College, home of Sprintech Track Club, also received $1 million. Lacovia, Alphonsus Davis, Herbert Morrison, Rossies, Petersfield, Manchester High, and the Jamaica Olympians Association all collected $500,000 each. Mark Smith is principal of Monroe College, and he was happy for the donation.
I'm incredibly appreciative to the Adidas family for stepping in and supporting the schools that were hardest hit because it has really been a challenging recovery effort, and it's really awesome that one of our big corporate sponsors will be able to come in and support in this matter.
Seville and Watson are both signed to Adidas, and they lauded the company for answering the call.
I am a student from the West, and this is actually something great for us Adidas to give back to the school in the West. So it's a good feeling.
Great feeling to be able to help and give back to the schools that were affected. So coming out here today and with the presentations was a great feeling.
And the sports minister also weighed in.
Adidas are stepping up and contributing to the schools that have been impacted by Hurricane Melissa. I wish all the sponsors would do that. They've set a good example. They've always been very supportive of our high schools. And I just want to say to
Sigobin, who started it all, says Adidas will always help the Jamaican young athletes whenever they're called upon.
It was the brainchild of the director of running Adidas, Mr. Spencer Nell. And when he went to the CEO of Adidas, it was without a doubt, there was no hesitation in doing the money. We were hell-bent on donating to the schools that got damages. We weren't really interested in food and water and everything because a lot of the schools that we support and that we donate money to, the roofs and the dorms and everything were damaged.
Thank you, Wayne. Now, local-based members of Jamaica's contingent to the World Indoor Athletics Championships are leaving the island on Tuesday morning at 9 for Poland. The group will have 29 members, including athletes, coaches, and managers. Manager Brian Smith left the island on Monday. Kishane Thompson, Brian Lavelle, Akeem Blake, Janelle Smith, and Tina Clayton are among those leaving on Tuesday, and they'll be joined by 8 others upon arrival in Poland. The journey will take the group to Atlanta, then on to Amsterdam, then Poland. Jamaica will be looking to improve on the 2 silver and 2 bronze won at the last World Indoors in Nanjing, China in 2025. Now to football, as Racing United will look to move back to second place in the Ray and Never Jamaica Premier League on Monday when they face struggling Onyx Gardens in a 7:30 kick-off at the Tony Spalding Sports Complex. The St. Catherine-based Racing lost second place on Sunday without kicking a ball after Mount Pleasant's victory over Mullines United at Droxall. A win in the jungle tonight will take Anthony Patrick's team to 2 points clear into second place. Onyx Gardens have blown hot and cold at home all season and are looking for a massive push for a top 6 finish, with this being the 3rd and final round in the regular season. They are currently 10 points off the top 6, and a win over Racing is almost a requirement. Chapelton Maroons, Portmore United, Cavalier, and Mobay United were the other winners on Sunday. Donovan Duque is the man who conditioned Chapelton Maroons.
The team is playing well, and it's important for us to continue. It's the 3rd round. As people say, it's the business end of the season. So what is important is that we continue to throw points on the board. We want to make our push for the top 6, so it's important that we continue to win. We changed our strategy. We adapted to what they were doing. Their movements started to man mark. We forced them to play wide. So we're better in wide areas. And, they continue to push. We nullify them, catch them in transition. They face their goals a couple of times. We weren't clinical in front of goals, so it's something that we still have to continue to work on.
Donovan Duque. Now to cricket, as Cricket West Indies confirmed that all 26 members of the West Indies team that participated at the recently concluded ICC Men's T20 World Cup, which was hosted by Sri Lanka and India, are now safely home. Owen Buchanan reports.
On Saturday, Cricket West Indies issued the statement the Caribbean cricket community was waiting on. The statement read, quote, Cricket West Indies wishes to advise that as of today, Saturday, March 14, 2026, all players and members of the team management unit who were part of the West Indies men's squad at the ICC Men's T20 World Cup in India have returned home safely. End quote. The unrest, which lasted 9 days due to the disruption in air travel, triggered a series of tweets from Darren Sammy, head coach of the team, who shared his frustration with the lack of information being relayed to the team. One such tweet stated that, quote, I just want to go home. Dear Lord, I put this situation in your hands and I pray that you bless everyone handling it. End quote. Cricket West Indies further stated, quote, the well-being and safety of our players and staff remain paramount, and we are grateful that the matter has now been brought to a safe and satisfactory conclusion. End quote. Oreen Buchanan reporting for Nationwide Sports.
Thank you, Oreen. As President of Cricket West Indies, Dr. Kishore Shallow says he's doing a good job at balancing his role as the region's top cricket administrator and that of Minister of Tourism and Maritime Affairs in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Dr. Shallow added that while politics is often a tedious task, his first love is cricket, and he's pleased to have the opportunity to make the necessary changes that will elevate the game in the region.
Managing well. Cricket is my first love. Since I've, started, looking at the world teams in the 80s and then playing cricket, I've been mad in love with cricket. And I normally say before anything else, I'm a massive cricket fan, before administration and everything. And so I continue to enjoy my involvement in cricket. I really, hope that by the time to move on from cricket administration, I would have, really left an impact on, positively growing the game in the region. But cricket is so dear to every single West Indian, and it was a real privilege for me to be involved, from our policy decision.
Dr. Shallow also rebuffed the notion that cricket's governing body, the ICC, is currently in discussions to have a 2-tier system.
Not true. ICC doesn't have this on the agenda, not currently.
Dr. Shallow was speaking with Andre Baptiste on I-95.5 FM in Trinidad. Now to some squash, as the All-Jamaica Junior and Senior Squash Competition serves off on Sunday at the Ligonier Club with exciting action in the junior section in front of an appreciative crowd. Several young players delivered impressive performances on the opening day, including 13-year-old Marley Price. Price, who began playing the sport in 2019 under coach Jill Binney, had a busy schedule across multiple age groups. Her opening match came in the under-17 division against Rihanna Stoddart. Price put up a strong fight, but narrowly lost 2-3 in one of the few matches that went full 5 sets. She quickly bounced back with a dominant 3-0 victory over Grace Dwyer in the combined under-13, under-15 category. Price then wrapped up her day with another straight-set win, defeating Hainal Lohana 11-6, 11-8, 11-2 in the under-17 division. Speaking after the matches, Price said she is aiming high this year.
I'm definitely looking to win U15. That's going to be a tough match, I know. And I'm trying to make it to U17 finals too, to go like that medal. I really enjoy this sport a lot. It's one of my passions, and I can't wait to see what it has in store for me.
Marley Price. Meanwhile, defending champions Ethan Miller and Mihar Trehan both showed a strong form, winning all their matches on Sunday to signal their intent to retain their titles. The senior competition is set to begin on Wednesday after the junior conclude their matches. And finally, in volleyball. Volleyball action over the weekend delivered several decisive victories across the male and female divisions. Starting with Saturday's result in the women's division, Paradise Dawn secured a straight set victory over JDF, winning 25-14, 25-12 and 25-21 to take the match 3 sets to love. Head coach Nicholas Wilson says the win is a confidence booster as the team heads into the knockout round.
Well, getting the win was important. 3-0 is always a good scoreline for us. What it does is it gives the girls confidence moving into the next round as we enter the quarterfinal round sometime in about 2 weeks.
Meanwhile, JDF coach Laurent Grant described the match as a learning experience for his squad.
Our time that we have for training, right, and all of that, I think my team would have performed well, not to their best of their ability, but well enough to say that we can use it as a standard to get them over the hurdle. So once we put in more work in our training, we can move forward.
In the men's division, Venus A defeated Paradise Sunset 3 sets to 1. After dropping the first set 25-18, Venus A rallied to win the next 3 25-15, 28-26 and 25-20. Another tightly contested match saw Paradise Sunrise edge Venus C 3 sets to 2. Sunrise won the first 2 sets 25-19 and 25-21 before Venus C fought back to take the third and fourth set 25-23 and 26-24. Paradise Sunrise sealed the victory with a 15-9 win in the deciding set. Turning to Sunday's action, Vikings females swept Paradise Dust 3-0, winning 25-20, 25-23 and 25-22. In the men's division, JDF defeated Venus C in straight sets 25-17, 25-13 and 25-22. Paradise Sunset also recorded a 3-0 win over Vikings, taking the sets 25-22, 25-18 and 27-25. Mosa edged Venus B in a 5-set thriller, winning 3 sets to 2, while Venus A capped the day with a dominant straight-set victory over Vikings 25-14, 25-27 and 26-24. I'm Alric Swiby, and that's your sports.
Hey folks, thanks for your patience. We'll be taking off very shortly. Should be wheels up in about 40 minutes. And due to a bumpy ride, snacks and beverage service has been suspended. AC has given us some trouble, sorry folks. And Wi-Fi is out. And so is the entertainment. Yeah, I'm sorry about the smell, folks. We are aware.
I know.
Just one more quick note. We are going to have to deplane.
Come on!
We're like the plane ride that isn't a nightmare. CG United Insurance. Good like that.
The Jamaica Customs Agency is ready and set to go to Montego Bay, St. James. This Friday, March 24, Customs meets the community. The Town of the Community Tour edition. Join us at our first stop, Witter Village at 9:30 a.m. Then on Barnett Street at Consumers Meets Plus. Catch us at Fairview Town Center beside Progressive Foods. And afterwards, the grand finale is at 3 p.m. in Samshop Square. Come, get lots of information and enjoy the entertainment and leave with prizes and giveaways. That's Customs meets the community this Friday, March 20 in St. James as Montego Bay comes back alive.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jackama figure dig the wall.
Upper Total Tools.
Weed whacker figure trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand.
Total Tools.
We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slipe Road, Kingston.
And lot C6 Draxall, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
Ready to upgrade your drive? Hyundai and Scotiabank are making it easier for you. Right now, you can drive away in a brand new Hyundai with an interest rate as low as 4.99%. Low interest rate, zero processing fees, and 1 year free insurance with Scotia Protect. Whether it's the compact Hyundai Venue, the bold Palisade, the stylish Tucson, or the dynamic Creta, Hyundai has the perfect vehicle waiting for you. So visit our showrooms at 7 Oxford Road, Kingston, or Providence Drive, Montego Bay, and get behind the wheel of a brand new Hyundai. Hyundai Jamaica. Because of you, conditions apply.
Jamaica! Tune in to Cliff Views Online on March 20 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast from the University of the West Indies for World Water Day. This year's theme, Inclusivity and Equity, highlights the commitment to ensuring that every Jamaican has access to safe, reliable water. Representatives from Jamaica's major water agencies will be present to answer questions, share valuable information, and help you explore the many possibilities within the water industry. So tune in to Cliff Views Online for World Water Day celebration, Inclusivity and Equity. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2, or keep your station locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Water, Environment and Climate Change.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comment section. Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Thank you so very much for sticking and staying with us right here inside Nationwide at 5, here inside the nation's business. And we want to turn our attention in this segment to Cuba and Jamaica's relationship. Yes, we're going to try to get a kind of historical perspective on the Cuban Jamaican relationship. Now, following the decision by the Holness administration to end the Cuban medical program, the opposition has come out in support of the Cuban government. The Cuban government, as opposed to, say, the people of Cuba. According to the Foreign Affairs Ministry's initial statement, the decision to discontinue the long-standing deployment of medical professionals in the public health sector was due to both governments being unable to agree on the terms and conditions of a new technical cooperation arrangement. Subsequent releases by the Foreign Affairs and Health Ministries attributed the discontinuation to conditions of servitude under which the Cuban healthcare professionals were subjected. The government has come under fire from the opposition for those explanations. Several representatives from the opposition have come out in support of the Cuban government. Recently, the opposition spokesman on health, that's Dr. Alfred Dawes, extended sincere gratitude to every Cuban doctor, nurse, and biotechnology professional who served in Jamaica over the years. He said the grateful people of Jamaica will always remember the compassion, professionalism, and commitment demonstrated by the Cuban medical teams. Dr. Dawes added that their service has touched countless lives and strengthened the enduring bond of friendship between Jamaica and Cuba. But also we heard from opposition spokesman on national security, that's Fitz Jackson, and he claims the government caved to U.S. pressure to end the program. And he specifically said that the opposition, People's National Party, stands with the Cuban government on this issue. Let's have a listen.
When you are in need and they come to your assistance, Cuba has been that to us. The argument advanced by the Minister of Foreign Affairs as a basis of termination, unilateral termination, as the Cubans have said, and if you ask me, I believe the Cubans in this more than I believe my government. Regrettable. Frivolous argument that the Minister of Finance advanced at the Standing Finance Committee and in subsequent news releases is again disgraceful. Payments are being made to the Cuban government for the workers, or on behalf of the workers who come here. To be frank, what is unique about that? None of these workers from China or elsewhere is paid by the government of Jamaica. They are paid by a private company on behalf of the workers. And there are a number of companies in Jamaica who do not pay their workers directly. They pay to the contracting party. In the case of the Cuban health service workers, the contractual arrangement is between the government of Jamaica and the government of Cuba.
Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State for the U.S., he came last year on a visit and he described this agreement as forced labor.
I have had the opportunity to interact with a number of Cuban health care workers. None of them are forced workers, forced labor. You know, if that argument is to have any credibility, why aren't they asking the Chinese workers to leave? On the basis of their own argument, it's frivolous and it's dishonest. It's dishonest. All I can say, better days will come. We are not losing hope in our country. And what we need to do, the opposition is steadfast. We will stand with the Cuban government on this matter. It's clear. It is responding to other demands, other instructions, rather than giving priority to the demands of our people.
And is there other instruction and other demands you mean from the U.S.?
All the entities and governments have instructed them. I no doubt the U.S. government is one of them.
The voice there of Fitz Jackson is the opposition spokesman on national security. Of course, seen there, we should give credit to, and we used this video on Friday as well, and we should give credit to the Jamaica Observer for that video. We are being joined in this segment by historian Wayne Chen as well as political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang. But we are up on a quick break. We're going to take this break and come back with their thoughts. Soon come.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:31. Welcome back. Thank you so very much for sticking and staying with us. Kevin O'Brien Chang, before I come to you, I'd like to have Wayne Chen just locate this relationship for us between Jamaica and Cuba in a historical perspective. How special is this relationship between Jamaica and Cuba?
The fact of the matter is Cuba is Jamaica's closest neighbor. There's long been a close historic relationship between Jamaica and Cuba. it's not insignificant that the only monument to a foreigner in Jamaica's National Heroes Park is the bust of the Cuban general, Antonio Maceo, the Afro-Cuban who was a hero of the Cuban War for independence against Spain. It's not insignificant that the mother of Antonio Maceo, Mariana Grajales, is buried in Kingston. She died in Kingston in exile, and that Maceo himself spent years in exile in Jamaica. And the bust was donated to Jamaica in 1962 by the people of Cuba in appreciation for Jamaica offering safe refuge to their national heroes. So, in fact, going back to that Cuban War of Independence, Jamaican volunteers went and fought in Cuba starting in 1875 to help the Cubans fight for their freedom from colonial Spain. So we have a historic relationship. Thousands of Jamaicans went to work in Cuba at the end of the 19th century, going into the 20th century. First in sugar and later to construct the railways. Starting in 1920, many Jamaicans went to work at Guantanamo Bay at the U.S. military base. So even before the latest phase, the post-independence phase, post-1962, there had been a close relationship between Jamaica and Cuba. Many prominent Jamaicans were born in Cuba. I think the most prominent is Rita Marley, who was born in Cuba, because of the and it signifies it epitomizes the fact that many Jamaicans went to find work in Cuba, lived there, and moved back and forth over the many years in the 20th century.
I want to come back to you, Wayne Chen, about what appears to be the souring of that special relationship between Jamaica and Cuba, and whether or not this thing with the medical program is sufficient to sour that relationship. Can it be salvaged? But let me bring in Kevin O'Brien Chang here. Kevin O'Brien Chang, you heard there from the PNP spokesman on national security, Fitzjackson. He says the opposition stands with the government of Cuba on this matter, and not necessarily to say the people of Cuba. Given what we have heard about this program and the state-sponsored servitude as it's being described by many, is the PNP on solid ground here to say they're standing with the dictatorial government in Cuba?
There are three Cubas: Cuba the country, the Cuban people, and the current Cuban government. Whatever the historical realities before, in 1962, Jamaica became an independent country, and the first Prime Minister was asked about the foreign policy. We are with the West. What does the West mean? The West means free and fair elections, freedom of speech, and rule of law, democracy. That is the West, what Bustamante meant. The West we think of in Jamaica, the US, Britain, Canada. That is the West to us. We are democracy first and foremost, right? This Cuban government has been in power since 1959, a military dictatorship. They might have done some good in the early years. They got literate population and stuff, and medicine, and they did do some good back with apartheid in South Africa. But they remain a military dictatorship. The rule of law, freedom of speech, free and fair elections are absent in Cuba. This government has no legitimacy from the people. I find it astonishing that a country where we are all committed to democracy, we're one of the proudest democracies in the world. In fact, I would say this, since 1962, take people as it will, but we are the most stable, non-white democracy in the world. We've never had a revolution, a coup, assassination. We have maintained the pillars of democracy: freedom of speech, rule of law, free and fair elections. Why in the world, with an opposition in waiting to be elected to the government? Because we do not have governments except by election. They are defending a communist military dictatorship where if you speak out against them, you're locked up. That's reality. Why in the world would a Democratic Party wanting to come to power by democratic means defend a communist military dictatorship whose only reason they're in power because they have guns? The people of Cuba have never had a chance to vote for them. There is no way you can connect the Cuban government to the Cuban people. What connection is there? How did the people choose their leaders there? These Cuban leaders, how were they chosen? By who? Not by the people. Why in the world is this our opposition committed to democracy, defending a dictatorship? I find it astonishing. And other CARICOM countries, CARICOM is supposed to be stand for our democratic principles. We should be proud. Outside of Western Europe, CARICOM is the most democratic region in the world.
Smooth transfer of power.
Democratic by peaceful means.
And a rich tradition of the smooth transfer of power as well.
Karl Popper, the philosopher, British philosopher, defined democracy where you can have a peaceful transfer of power.
Right. Exactly.
That's democracy.
Absolutely. And we've enjoyed it. Wayne Chen, I'd love to hear you on that before we get back to the what appears to be the soaring of the special relationship between Jamaica and Cuba. At that point there by Kevin O'Brien Chang, that the opposition is standing on shaky ground by coming out and saying they're standing with the Cuban government on this matter. Do you agree that that's a cause for concern there from the opposition?
You heard from one member of the opposition, and I've been reading and waiting for an official statement from the opposition. I would not see that as an official statement from the opposition. In fact, I find it very interesting how the communication has been handled around this matter, and I leave it at that.
Let's talk then about the souring, what appears to be the souring of the relationship, and whether or not there can be any salvaging of the relationship. The Cuban government has made it clear that they are of the view that the government of Jamaica has bowed to the pressure from the U.S. Based on what you know of the relationship over the years, can we salvage this relationship? Wayne Chen? It appears we've lost Wayne Chen. Kevin O'Brien Chang?
What's the salvage? Well, yes. Cuba gives us medical aid, which we pay for. It's not free. We pay the Cuban doctors and nurses the same as we pay Jamaicans.
And that money went to the Cuban government in U.S. dollars.
You know, there's not a single Jamaican who would work under those conditions. You go tell any Jamaican here, you can go work somewhere, but the government's going to take 90% of the money. They would never accept that. And I can never understand these people who we enjoy, luckily, democratic rights. The workers have rights. And they think it's good enough for Jamaica, but it's not good enough for the Cubans. That logic never ceases to amaze me. Why would we want our neighbors? Listen, forget China, forget Russia, these countries. They're way too bigger than us. We can't influence them. We can use our influence to try to get the rights for the Cuban people that we Jamaicans proudly enjoy. That is where our goal should be. If they're our neighbors, we want them to enjoy what we enjoy, the freedom to choose their own leaders. That is, as a Democrat, I can defend no other form of government but democracy, but by the people, for the people, of the people.
Before we lost...
the special relationship, which sane person would choose to be friends with Cuba at the consequence of being an enemy of the United States? America has done far, far more for Jamaica than Cuba ever has. Anybody sane person can see that. Indirectly and directly. 90% of our tourists come from America. You know the old time saying you're going to cut off your nose to spite your face? Why in the world would we make America angry just to be friends with Cuba, who can offer us nothing except what we pay for? We can get doctors and nurses elsewhere.
But isn't that a big... Some might say you're selling your principles short there. I mean, to maintain your friendship with the Americans, you'll sell out your Caribbean neighbors. What about those who push back on that argument, Kevin O'Brien?
The only real friendship Cuba and Jamaica has is when Malcolm Mandela was there. He was friends with Castro. They must have gotten on very well. Before that, we are no friends with Cuba. Even a Norman Manley, right? Bustamante, we were no friends with Cuba because they were dictators. We are not friends with dictators, naturally. Malcolm Mandela and Castro got on well. Castro was still a dictator. However charming he was and good looking and all that, he was a brutal military dictator. The people had no say under him.
Before
could speak well.
Before I check if we
with the principles of what? Listen, nations have no principles; they have only interest. That is, that anybody who has studied history and politics knows that.
Before is Wayne Chen back with us? No. All right. So we don't have Wayne Chen. But before we lost Wayne Chen, Kevin O'Brien-Chang, he raised a point that I think is worthy of further interrogation. He says there needs to be some kind of formal response to this matter from the PNP as a party. He's saying he's not certain he wants to take Fitzjackson's position on this issue as the official PNP party stance on the matter. But we heard Fitzjackson quite clearly saying the opposition stands with the Cuban government on this. Does this now require that the PNP issue a formal position on this matter, whether supporting the stance of Fitzjackson or repudiating it? I think we've lost Kevin O'Brien-Chang as well. Listeners, viewers, please pardon us. We're having some difficulties with the line, but as soon as we're able to reconnect, I'd love to hear from Kevin O'Brien-Chang if he supports that call for the PNP to officially put forward its position and to say whether or not it supports what Fitzjackson has said, because he has clearly tied the People's National Party to his position based on his utterance as a senior member of the People's National Party. I think we have Wayne Chen back with us. Wayne Chen?
I missed that, but I'll say this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a Jamaican phenomenon. I take it as a signifier of where we really are as independent countries. I have yet to see an unequivocal statement from a Caribbean political party that says that if I form government, I will rehire Cuban medical personnel on the same terms that were there before. I have yet to see that statement.
So you're saying it is needful, it's necessary for the opposition to put out what its formal position is, because
and maybe not. Lack of a formal position speaks volumes also, you know.
But Fitzjackson tied them to his position. He says the opposition stands with them.
What is his position?
That the opposition stands with the Cuban government on this matter.
What does it mean?
That he supports the terms and conditions of the arrangement. What else could it mean?
Has he or his party said that they will rehire the Cuban medical personnel?
He says the government is being...
the same position?
Well, you're asking me to speak for the People's National Party.
I'm saying I've not heard that.
Right. But he says the government is being dishonest and he stands with the Cuban government. The PNP stands with the Cuban government.
That sounds nice, but it has not said unequivocally whether they would rehire Cuban medical personnel on the same terms as before.
So you're calling on them to clarify that?
I'm not calling on anything. I'm only saying I'm waiting on it. I need no call.
Well, you're waiting on it. Kevin O'Brien-Chang is back with us. Kevin O'Brien-Chang?
To hire the Cubans back under the terms.
No, I wanted to ask you, should the PNP formally say whether or not it supports or repudiates what Fitzjackson has basically bind the party to?
Listen, the PNP knows it has no ground to stand on except this nostalgic relationship between Manley and Cuba. That's the only thing why they could possibly defend anything about Cuba. The reality is, if no Jamaican could be hired under the terms the Cubans were hired under, maybe why now people say, I basically got lazy the government, the arrangements were there, they never questioned them. But it breaks Jamaican law. It's illegal. The conditions under which they were...
They didn't have their passports in their possession.
Exactly.
A number of things. We're out of time, gentlemen.
It's totally illegal. So you want to break our law. They want us to continue to relationship, break our own law to hire the Cubans? How can that make any sense?
We're out of time, gentlemen. But I want to give the last word to you, Wayne Chen. I was asking you before you got disconnected, and Kevin O'Brien Chang responded to the question I was framing for you about whether or not clearly the relationship is souring because of this issue. Can we salvage this relationship, this long-standing relationship that Jamaica has with Cuba? Kevin O'Brien Chang is saying there's nothing there to salvage. What say you on that?
We will be back. We have had worse breaks in the past. If those who recall the 70s, and I lived through the 70s, we had the issue of Ulysses Estrada, the Cuban ambassador and DJI, and self-proclaimed DJI colonel, interfering in Jamaican politics very directly. He was part of a march against the Gleaner. There was the Moonex affair. There was the affair of George Flash and Tony Brown finding, two of Jamaica's most wanted men finding refuge in Cuba. There are many, many more egregious things that have happened. And here we are today. What I'm saying is that Cuba is our close neighbor. The Cuban and Jamaican people have long shared a mutual affection and a common history and intertwined history. This will bounce back.
And the health of the relationship and the preservation of it, does that depend on whether or not there's regime change in Cuba and there's a move from this dictatorial regime to a system of democracy? Should that be one of the grounds upon which we maintain this relationship with the Cuban government?
I will put it a different way. Or if there's a change of the standing of the U.S., because I will not ignore the role of the U.S. in this.
And what thing is that, Wayne?
It is not defending democracy at all, man. It is a very
not defending democracy there. No, man.
But you've not responded to the question I've asked you, though, Sir Wayne. You framed the question, your own question, and then responded to it. Should we insist upon democracy in Cuba as a government?
Are you a Democrat?
Jamaica has never insisted on democracy in any country. Why would we single Cuba for that?
Our closest neighbors.
Well, all right, gentlemen. We have to leave it there, gentlemen. We have to leave it there. Wayne Chen, Kevin O'Brien Chang. We've gone way over time. Thank you, gentlemen, for the time and the thoughts. Clearly, we need to bring you back so we can finish this conversation. Clearly, the conversation is not over. Thanks to Wayne Chen, historian, political commentator, Kevin O'Brien Chang. Gentlemen, thank you for the time and the thoughts. Have a good afternoon. This is Nationwide at 5. When we come back, we'll take you around the world.
Every day, Rosie has a glass of fruit drink with breakfast, an energy drink on the way to work, a flavored water with lunch, and 2 glasses of soda with dinner, which adds up to more than 50 teaspoons of sugar a day. And all that extra sugar could bring on obesity. Are we drinking ourselves sick? 71% of Jamaicans support a tax on sugary drinks. Help tackle obesity and protect our children's future. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us inside Nationwide at 5. Now, in this segment around the world, European countries have ruled out sending warships to the Strait of Hormuz, despite threats from Donald Trump that NATO, he says, faces a very bad future if members, listen to this, if members fail to help reopen the vital waterway. Germany ruled out participation in any military activity, including efforts to reopen the strait. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz says, given that there was never a joint decision on whether to intervene, the question about his country's military contribution does not arise, says the German Chancellor. Speaking bluntly, Merz says Germany will not intervene. Britain's Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer says his country will not be drawn into a wider war, but was working on a viable plan. And of course, earlier, Sir Keir Starmer had said that the British would only allow for defensive operations from its bases. More, though, in this report from CNN.
Welcome to the Global News Podcast on YouTube. I'm joined by the BBC's diplomatic correspondent, Paul Adams. Paul, President Trump is putting huge pressure on NATO allies to help him reopen the Strait of Hormuz to oil and gas tankers, but those NATO allies don't appear to be rushing forward to help.
They're not, and I suppose if you consider the recent history of Donald Trump's relationship with other NATO members, perhaps it's understandable. It was only a few weeks ago that he was threatening to take over the sovereign territory of another NATO member in the whole Greenland crisis. That was a crisis that passed, but this is a president who has made something of a speciality of criticizing NATO members. And here is a situation where he and Israel have started a war. That war has become complicated. He has been rather disparaging about the capabilities of other NATO members. In fact, it was only a week or so ago that he was telling Britain that he didn't need any British ships to go and help with a war that had already been won. Now he's turned around and says he wants help from, frankly, anyone who's willing to give it. I think this is causing a lot of raised eyebrows. You had the former chief of the British Defence Staff saying that that NATO was a defensive alliance. It was never set up to come to the assistance of someone who had started a war of choice. I think that pretty much sums up the attitude of many NATO members. Of course, they have a problem, though, which is they may not like the fact of this war. They may not have a particularly warm feeling towards the man who started it, but there's a big problem, and that is the freedom of navigation through one of the world's most important waterways, and that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, Donald Trump has said things could be very bad for NATO if its members don't help. What pressure points could he hit there?
Look, this is fairly typical Trumpian rhetoric, and I don't think we should necessarily assume that he is levelling specific threats at NATO if countries don't bend to his will. This is very characteristic of the way he tries to bully people into doing what he wants. There is always the fear that the Americans could simply walk away from NATO and that the Northern Atlantic Alliance will no longer be in the future what it has been for all these recent decades, and that America might not come to the assistance of Europe in the event of future threats from whatever quarter, whether it's Russia or anyone else. But I think, as I say, this is how Donald Trump operates. It's how he speaks. And he is clearly voicing his frustration with countries who are recoiling somewhat in horror from what he and Israel have unleashed.
Yes, what are they saying?
Let's take it sort of one by one. Britain, in the form of the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is saying that this is a problem that does urgently need to be fixed, that the best way to solve the problem of the freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz is for a de-escalation. But we're not seeing a de-escalation at the moment, and with Israeli and American officials talking about this going on for at least a few more weeks, there isn't a de-escalation in sight at the moment. But in the meantime, what Sir Keir Starmer is saying is that Britain could well be willing to help with some new technology, relatively untested technology involving drones that are capable of detecting and dealing with mines. France's President, Emmanuel Macron, has spoken in the past, and a week or so ago, about being willing to send French ships to help in some kind of escort operation through the Strait of Hormuz, but the French seem to have gone a little bit cold on this at the moment. The Germans are saying, frankly, no, we're not going to be part of that. So we are not seeing a particularly speedy and enthusiastic response from NATO partners. The Spanish and the Italians are also pretty leery about this. I think, they all know that at the moment this represents an extremely risky operation, fraught with all sorts of dangers. We don't know exactly what those dangers are. It could be mines already laid in the Strait of Hormuz, although at the moment there's no particular evidence of that. But it could also come in the form of Iranian fast boats, missiles fired from the shore. That there are all kinds of dangers which, frankly, very few countries are willing to expose their navies and their personnel to without some kind of clear plan.
Yes, and I heard...
that report there from the BBC, and not CNN, as we previously said. That's where we have to bring tonight's episode to a close, though. I want to thank our super producer, Dana Davey. And of course, we want to say thank you to our technical operator, the man behind the controls, our pilot, Andrew Glenn Anderson. Don't just to set, folks, that's his name, Andrew and Glenn together. Thanks to all the hard-working members of the news and production team. On behalf of all of us, I'm Tyron Reed saying, have a good evening, everyone.